Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it's an honor and a privilege, as it is every day, to have you guys joining me here. And this is the show that's just the big virtual water cooler where we're all just sitting around, movie fans together, talking about our favorite things, whatever you guys want to talk about. This entire show is just about what you guys want to bring up and talk about. Now, I'm going to take all live questions today, but before I get to the live questions, I've got just a few live questions from this morning's The John Campea Show that I didn't have a chance to get around to. So we're going to knock those out of the park first, and then we're going to get to the current live questions. All right, so with that out of the way, let's get over to the questions from this morning. And the first question this morning was from Anthony R., who writes, I would have loved if Spielberg had done the prequels or 7 through 9. I know Lucas had asked him at one point, but he said no, saying it was Lucas's baby. Yeah, I mean, one of the things I've always wanted as a film fan, and I've talked about this for a long, long time, is that I have really badly wanted a Steven Spielberg directed Star Wars film. I have wanted that so bad for so many years. It's just unbelievable, especially knowing the close relationship that George and Steven have together. As a matter of fact, I remember when I was at the world premiere for Star Wars The Force Awakens, George and Steven were sitting together. They came in together, they sat in the theater together. It was just an amazing experience seeing George Lucas and Steven Spielberg just sitting there together. It was just amazing. And it's something I would have always loved. But, you know, Steven has his reasons for not wanting to do it, and I get it because of the relationship with George and that being his baby and all that kind of stuff. But, man, how great would it be to see a George Lucas directed Star Wars film? Pretty sweet, if you ask me. Let's see. This next one comes to us from I Don't Get Likes, who writes, if Sony confirmed, yes, Venom doesn't show till the end of the movie, how much do you think it will make at the box office? Well, I mean, it's important to point out here, of course, I Don't Likes is pointing out a rumor that was going around last week that full-blown Venom wasn't actually going to show up in the Venom movie till like the very, very end. So that was a rumor that went out. Now, Venom star Tom Hardy took to social media and basically shot those rumors down. Just basically saying it's not correct. So fine. But for the sake of argument, let's say I Don't Get Likes the scenario that he's just painted for us came to fruition. That Sony came out and said, yes, as a matter of fact, fine, Venom doesn't show up to the very end of the movie. It'll have an impact. I don't think it'll have a massive impact, but it would have an impact. So let's say Venom would have made $50 million opening weekend. Then maybe now it might make 40. So probably maybe about a 20% drop. I think it would be a really negative thing. It would be, look, I said this before, I'll say it again. It would probably be the single stupidest thing that Sony could do. Would be having a Venom movie and then only having Venom show up at the very end. It would be the absolute stupidest thing they could do. So I'm glad Tom Hardy came out and shot those rumors down because, man, that would just be dreadful. All right, let's move on to the next one. And the next one comes to us from Anthony R., who writes, I know everyone is going to be concerned with Thanos, but do you think Star-Lord will have a geek moment when he realizes Earth now has superheroes? I'm not so sure about that. I mean, I think if Peter had been off in space and it's just all regular, like, humanoid people that he's ever come across, maybe. However, he has already come across in his travels many ultimately superpowered beings, including himself finding out he is the son of a Celestial. Not to mention Gamora, not to mention Drax the Destroyer, Rocket Raccoon, blah, blah. It's like, it's just part of his common experience now. So when he gets to Earth, there might be a moment of, oh, cool, but it's not like he hasn't always been surrounded by super beings, and now comes to Earth, it's like, Earth has super beings? So I don't think we're going to get that to a big extent or to a big extreme. I think it'll probably more of a, oh, that's cool, but it's just that he's been surrounded with that type of thing his entire life. So I don't think it's going to be that big of an impact, you know what I'm saying? All right, next one comes to us from Luis David, who writes, with a recent Twitter tease from his manager, what is the likely possibility Henry Cavill will be in Shazam? Okay, here's the thing. There's all these reports going around of Henry Cavill's manager teases that he's going to be in Shazam. False. Absolutely false. What his manager did do was put out this thing on, it was either on Twitter or it was on Instagram, of her. Henry Cavill's agent is actually Dwayne The Rock Johnson's ex-wife, who is still Dwayne The Rock Johnson's manager, by the way, or agent, whichever. She put out a picture of her and Henry Cavill talking, and something about, what are we talking about? There was no mention of Shazam. There was nothing at all remotely to indicate that Henry Cavill is going to be, and all these places running, Henry Cavill's agent teases Shazam. No, she didn't. No, she didn't. Shazam was never mentioned, implied, inferred in any way. Now look, that's not to say that Henry Cavill won't pop up in Shazam as a cameo or as a character. That doesn't mean it won't happen. But this whole thing of everybody's running around right now with these headlines and these stories today, Henry Cavill's agent teases Shazam. She did not. Again, this is why I always encourage people who watch me to, whether I give a headline or you hear headlines anywhere else, dig down to the source and look at the source yourself. There is nothing in that story whatsoever to imply that Henry Cavill is going to be in Shazam. Like, seriously, when I read the headlines, I fully expected to find this social media tweet and saying something like, Henry Cavill and I talking about certain characters who say a word and lightning strikes from the sky. Then I go, okay, yes, clearly she's teasing Shazam. Obviously. But there was nothing in the post about it. Nothing. So this is all much ado about nothing, paying no attention, nothing to see here. All right, let's move on here. Joe Giger writes, screw you, John. I love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Well, going off my little thing, screw you, I love the Ewoks. Hey, look, lots of people love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's great. It's still a steaming pile of shit to me. But if you like it, that's great. I'm not going to try to talk you out of it. I'm not going to say you have bad taste for no, if you like it, that's awesome. I'm super happy you like it. I still like Ming-Na. I love Clark Gregg in it. But I think the show has been a waste. A waste of Clark Gregg's incredible talents, a waste of a great character and actress in Ming-Na, but hey, I mean, it is what it is, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't like it, and if you like it, that's awesome. I'm glad for it. Tinnis Vlad writes, new to Patreon, best way to listen to the John Campea Show podcast. Well, if you are a Patreon member, you have your own unique, each Patreon member has their own unique podcast feed that they can use, and just use that feed in whatever is your favorite podcasting app of choice. It should be able to work no problem. For Metro writes, hey John, why do people dislike Die Hard 4 so much? Because of the PG-13 rating? To me, it's a modern take on the franchise. I really like it personally. No, like, for instance, you get somebody like me that I completely defend the fact that it's totally fine for Die Hard not to be rated R. There's a hell of a lot you can do without it being rated R. It does. Die Hard is not a franchise that has to be rated R. But it wasn't that good of a movie. And I think where people are too quick to say, oh, the reason people didn't like it is because it wasn't rated R. No, it wasn't that good of a movie. Had nothing to do with not enough blood, didn't have anything to do with, oh, he didn't drop enough F-bombs. F-bombs would have made the movie better, please. No, it just wasn't a very good movie. So why didn't most people like, Die Hard 4? For the same reason that they don't like any other movies they don't like. They just didn't find it to be a very good movie. So that's just kind of that. All right. With those out of the way now, let's get on to the live questions that you guys are sending in now as we speak. And we're going to get things started off here with Ben Rayner, who writes, hey, John, so do you think New Mutants is the new Fantastic Four Fox? Do you smell the same troubles with it? I don't know if it's the same troubles. I mean, look, Fox does a lot of things great. And with their X-Men Universe films, they've done a lot of great things. Some of my all-time favorite comic book movies. And we've got Deadpool 2 coming out, which I'm super excited about. I honestly have no idea. I have no idea what's going on with the New Mutants. Nothing about this seems like the same sort of scenario that we had with Fantastic Four. I mean, there was a lot of behind-the-scenes drama going on with Josh Trank and alleged drama and all this kind of stuff. So that was that. That was a totally different situation. So I don't think this is anything similar to the Fantastic Four situation, except that it looks like this movie's a mess. Like, you push it off by 10 months... and now you got to push it off again by another 6 months. This movie's now opening up nearly a year and a half after it was supposed to open. It was supposed to open in 2 weeks. It was supposed to open on April 13th. In 2 weeks. And now it's been pushed off by almost a full year and a half. 16 months. Twice with big pushes. So yeah, something is clearly really wrong. Something is clearly really wrong. We'll just have to wait and find out what it is, I guess. But it doesn't feel to me like the same type of circumstance that we had with Fantastic Four, at least not on its surface at this point. All right. Next one comes to us from Kuroki94, who writes, do you think there will be another Planet of the Apes sequel? I don't think so. Because you had War for the Planet of the Apes. Let me bring up the box office on this. War for the Planet of the Apes box office. So you had War for the Planet of the Apes come out, and it was really loved by a lot of people. I liked it, but it was my least favorite of the new Planet of the Apes movies. The movie did not hit 500 million. So it was one of the lower box office films. As a matter of fact, the Apes. Let me just pull up the other ones here. So we had Rise of the Planet of the Apes. That movie made $481 million, okay, worldwide. That was the first one. Then Dawn for the Planet of the Apes capitalized on the success of Rise and made $710 million worldwide. $710 million worldwide. And everybody loved it. So you expect that War for the Planet of the Apes is going to come out and it's going to continue that trajectory. It's going to make 800 million. It's going to make 900 million. I remember some conversations about War for the Planet of the Apes maybe joining the $1 billion club. Nobody guaranteed that, but there were some talks about maybe this one could be the next one to join the $1 billion club. And it just went straight down. 490 million. Took a $220 million nosedive from the previous one. And at a budget of $150 million, minus theater take, adding on marketing costs, all that kind of stuff, you're talking about a film that did break even, but not by much. And it really did kind of put a bow on it. So I don't know that we'll see another. We may see another crack at Planet of the Apes. Maybe like another reboot, but this time happening like 100 years after the events of War for the Planet of the Apes or something like that. I don't know if of a direct sequel that picks up right where the last one left off, but it would probably have to be something like a reboot just because the financials don't really kind of look healthy at this point. All right. AFC writes, do you watch heavyweight boxing? Big fight this weekend. Nah, not really. Ever since I got into MMA, look, I'm sorry. I watch boxing now and it's like I'm watching grown men playing patty cake. For my personal taste, I find it to be a really inferior sport to MMA. Just a really inferior sport. So I just lost all interest. Now, don't get me wrong. When there's some big fights, I've gone out and watched some big fights and they can be really great and entertaining. My brother-in-law, Ray, who does most of my graphics, Ray is really into boxing. He watches like boxing every day. He knows tons about boxing. So quite often when I go over to the house there, I'll watch boxing if he's got on. But honestly, I don't even know who the fight is this weekend. I really don't. The last fight I watched was Triple G and Canelo. And honestly, the last two boxing matches I've watched was Manny Pacquiao versus that English or Australian dude, whatever that dude was. That dude that Manny Pacquiao whipped him? Just whipped him. Like where the guy had to go to the hospital after the fight and the ref even had to go over to his corner at one point to say, hey, look, I might have to stop this fight soon. Manny beat that guy's ass and the judges gave the fight to the other guy. I remember watching it and the HBO commentators, I can't remember if it was on HBO or Showtime, but the commentators were like, this is a travesty. So I watched that fight and then I watched the Triple G Canelo fight. I'm sorry. Any buffoon can tell that Triple G won that fight. He clearly won that fight. and they call it a draw. So it's like, for me, it's like, why would I watch boxing? Like, it's so corrupt. It is so corrupt. Why would I even bother watching? So, I don't know. Look, I'm just giving you all the negatives on this. It really would be more fair if I had Ray here too, because Ray loves boxing, he's really into it. He could give you some positives, but I'm just in a very negative frame of mind, to be honest with you, when it comes to boxing. I find it to be an inferior sport to a much superior combat sport in MMA. And just the last couple of fights I've tried to watch with big fights were completely corrupted. And so it's like, I even if I wanted to become a fan, I just can't. So anyway, that's just where I am. But I'm sure a lot of you guys are boxing fans. And again, I'm not trying to poo-poo on you or you loving it. I'm just explaining why I can't get myself there. So anyway, which is really too bad, because one of my favorite sporting events that I've ever gone to was my dad took me to see, when granted, I was little, but Sugar Ray Leonard versus Marvelous Marvin Hagler. And that was like just a fight. That was a fight, man. I will always remember that fight. And so it's really a shame that I'm kind of in the place that I am right now when it comes to boxing. Anyway, that's just me. Chris Martin writes, "Hey, John, I'm a big fan. Thank you so much. Any chance you will ever do a meet and greet at Cleveland Comic-Con? No. I was able to meet Clay Aiken last year in North Carolina, American Idol Season 2 alum. No. Only because I'll never be at Cleveland Comic-Con. Not because I don't like Cleveland. I actually do like Cleveland quite a bit. But I can't, I mean, it's expensive to go to those things, man. I got to get a flight across the country, pay for hotel room, pay for food. We're talking the thousands of dollars. And I just can't do it. It's expensive enough just going to Comic-Con in San Diego, for heaven's sakes. So no, look, I could sit here and lie and say, well, maybe someday, but the reality is no, I'll probably never go. I'll just never really have the chance to go. If for whatever miraculous reason I find myself at Cleveland Comic-Con, I will do a meet and greet, but I just can't see it ever happening. It's just not financially feasible. Let's see here. Okay, a bunch more questions came in, and we move on now to another one from Chris, who writes, do you have a favorite movie-going experience? I went with a few friends opening night to Hunger Games, Catching Fire. It was a blast. Well, probably my all-time favorite movie-going experience was going to the world premiere of The Force Awakens. I mean, that's a bucket list thing for me. Being able to go to a world premiere at the Chinese theater where the original Star Wars premiered. That was the most magical, almost religious experience for me. Sitting in the Chinese theater, the same theater where George Lucas premiered his first Star Wars movie, there now to watch the premiere of this new Star Wars movie. By far, that is the greatest movie-going experience of my life. That nothing will probably ever touch that. Although, I did just get my invitation today to the world premiere of Avengers Infinity War. So yeah, that might come close. That might come close. As a matter of fact, I was supposed to fly to Las Vegas on Monday the 23rd to go to an annual event called CinemaCon in Vegas. It's the best movie convention I go to every year. Anyway, and then I got the invitation today to go to the world premiere of Infinity War, which is on Monday the 23rd. So today I just rebooked my flights and everything, because fine, I'll miss day one of CinemaCon. I'll fly into Vegas the next morning. So maybe that one will come close to the Star Wars one, but it's tough to imagine any movie-going experience for somebody like me coming close to going to a world premiere of a Star Wars movie when, you've grown up just idolizing everything about Star Wars. So that'll be the top one for me, I think. Kalis Menon writes, what happened to John Cusack? Haven't seen him since that movie in 2012. He's actually been very, very busy. The thing is, he hasn't been in any big Hollywood films. Like, he's been doing a lot of smaller direct-to-home video indie films. He did one called, what's the one about the Beach Boys? What was it called? Mercy Me? Hold on, the one in 2014. Let me just see if I can find what I'm talking about here. Love and Mercy. He was really great in Love and Mercy in 2014. Then he was in Chirac. He's been, then he did that one movie, Dragon Blade. That movie was awful. So he's been in like a ton, and he's got like 3 or 4 movies coming out now, but I don't think any of them are going to be like theatrically released films. So I don't know if John Cusack, just because at some point, my God, I love John Cusack. I love him. I love his sister, Joan Cusack. America's Sweethearts is one of my favorite like rom-coms of all time. It certainly is the movie that captured the movie junket scene like perfectly. So I don't know if he pissed somebody off or if he developed a bad reputation in the industry. I don't know, but he's great, man. Gross Point Blank forever. All right, here. Next one comes to us from Thunder Knight 19, who writes, we've seen many couples in movies who have had poor chemistry. But it is always the actors who are at fault, or does the directing and the script play a part in it too? Oh, it's absolutely all three, and any one situation can be a combination of any of the three. Like, you can have a movie where you have 2 terrific actors, but just either it's the script that is just not making you feel it, or maybe just those 2 actors who have all the talent in the world, they just don't click with each other, and they just don't have that chemistry. So that worked. And then ultimately it's down to the director. Look, as a director, you got to recognize when something's not working. If that magic isn't coming across, it's up to the director. It's an impossible task, but it's up to the director to find a way to make it come across on camera. And then you get some actors like Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. Like, you can just put them in a scene in McDonald's together and they have just magnetic chemistry together. I don't know what it is about those two, and you can always come across, I think Robert Downey Jr., and or I should say Tony Stark and Pepper have great chemistry together. I thought Natalie Portman and Chris Hemsworth as Thor and Jane had terrible chemistry together. But it's never just one thing. It's not just the actors. It's not either the script, and it's not just the director. It can be any combination of those things at any one time to really make that performance happen. At the bottom line, though, is, and at the end of the day, that director has to make sure it works. Do whatever you need to do to make sure it comes out to that. So maybe the fault is the actors, maybe it's the fault of the script, but at the end of the day, the person responsible for it working is the director, and they got to find a way to make it work. And sometimes it's just not possible. All right. Chris Martin writes, out of the Star Wars characters, the only spinoff I want to see is Obi-Wan. Call Ewan McGregor and Disney, John. Well, I mean, I will do what I can. I'll be honest with you. I don't even really want an Obi-Wan movie. I mean, don't get me wrong. I am now on board with it. I used to be against it. I'm no longer against it. I'm on board. But if you left it up to me and said, John, would you rather start? Lucasfilm can only do one movie next year. And it's either going to be an Obi-Wan movie or it's going to be a movie set 500 years before the events of Star Wars: A New Hope with a totally different set of characters, Jedi and Sith and whatever. I would go for that. I would go for that other one. I'm totally cool now. You guys have talked me into being cool with the idea of an Obi-Wan movie, and I'll look forward to it. But if I was given my choice, like that Obi-Wan or another one, I'll take another one. That's just me, you know. All right, let's see. What else do we got here? Next one comes to us from Anthony R., who writes, over under 50% that years have passed in episode 9, and Rey is now fully trained, and a rebuilt Republic comes back to launch a major attack on the First Order. Under 50%. There's just too many things in your scenario there that seem unlikely. Number one, how can the Republic rebuild? The First Order, there is no Republic anymore, and the First Order has the big upper hand. The Republic can't rebuild until the First Order is gone. So there's that. But I am kind of down with the notion that this won't be like The Last Jedi in the sense that The Last Jedi picked up right where The Force Awakens ended. Like, I completely believe it is very feasible here that some time has passed, much like in the original trilogy, between episode 8 and episode 9. That could be a case, but that we find ourselves in a situation where the Republic has rebuilt, and I don't think that's going to happen. As far as the Rey stuff, she'll be more advanced in her training at this point. She did get all the Jedi texts and take those away with her at the end of The Last Jedi, but so I'm going to take the under. I will take the under on your 50%. All right, next one comes to us from Jedi Knight and friend to Captain Solo. Did you get my special effect message? Battlefront is your destiny. I'm not quite sure what it is we're talking about. I remember you asking a question about Battlefront 2 the other day, and me just saying it's too late for me. Like, I've already so soured on Battlefront 2 that it's just too late for me to get on board with it. But I don't know that I remember the special effect message you're specifically talking about, so I can't really comment on that. Let's see. Kevin Komaki writes, what if Don Cheadle shapeshifts into Terrence Howard? If you're making a reference to like Kree and Skrulls sort of thing, it's not the most unlikely thing. I mean, obviously not turning into Terrence Howard. That's not the unlikely. That is, of course, completely unlikely. But the inference here is that what if the Don Cheadle character, he himself, because a lot of people have been speculating online lately that what if, Don Cheadle, like War Machine, what if Captain America, what if somebody else is actually a Skrull, right? So that's been something that's been batted around a bit. So what if, War Machine is one? I still don't think any of the main characters are, though. I think that's a little bit too deep of a cut, I think. But yeah, turns into Terrence Howard. Tinos Vlado writes, think Indiana Jones can work with different actors playing Indy like James Bond series does? Sure, yeah, it can. Will it? That's another question altogether. Can it? Yeah, absolutely it can. It's possible. And anybody who tells you, no, it's not, it could never happen. It's not. Yes, it could. We have so much precedent to show us that yes, it can. It can. It doesn't mean it would, though. And it doesn't even mean it's a good idea to try. But if they decided to try that, it is possible it could work. It just is. You can say it's not all you want, but the reality is it is possible. I'm not necessarily saying it will work, not even saying it's a good idea to try. But if they did try it, you cannot deny there's a chance it could work and work great. It could also be an unmitigated disaster. But it's possible. It's possible. But again, I don't think they have any. At least Spielberg has always sounded to me like he has no intention of ever letting like an Indiana Jones go forward without Harrison Ford. So as long as Harrison Ford's alive, I don't think we're ever going to get an Indiana Jones film that's not Harrison Ford. So we'll just have to wait and see. All right, next one comes to us from Aiden Haspel, who writes, just bought Greatest Showman on digital. It's such a feel-good movie, and the music is freaking incredible. They have a feature that breaks down all the songs. I definitely recommend checking out. And man, yeah, the music, that's the thing. I've always said that I think Greatest Showman is an okay movie. It's an okay movie, but it's a marvelous musical. Like the story beats and the narrative flow, okay, that's where it hits bumps. But fortunately, most of the movie is just the musical numbers. And the musical numbers are so magic. They're so good. Like, I spent probably a good 2 months just listening to the Greatest Showman soundtrack in my car over and over and over again. I love that soundtrack, so I'm really glad that you had a chance to catch up on it, man. All right. Next one comes to us from Last of the Time Lords, who writes, do you think we will get a young Picard introduced into the J.J. Abrams Star Trek universe with a story where, I think you meant where, not where Kirk gets promoted to Admiral and the ship gets taken over by a young captain called Picard? No, because there's just too much time that separates them. I don't think, like, it's not like they're 1,000 years apart or anything like that, but if I remember correctly, I think, like, Picard would have been a child, I think. Unless you get, like, real old man Kirk. Like, old man Kirk. Then it's possible. I remember on the first episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, DeForest Kelley makes a cameo at the end of it as Bones, as Dr. McCoy. But they had him so made up, like he was like 155 years old. This ship's got the name Enterprise. You take care of her. And, all this kind of stuff. So I think unless you went old man Kirk, it's just otherwise you're going to have an infant or a little piece of sperm that is Picard. So I don't know that that could actually work timeline wise. Let's see. Cam Alamo writes, any word on the Fifth Beatle from Peyton Reed? No, as a matter of fact, not at all. Hold a second here. Peyton Reed. Let's see here. Yeah, no. I just remember that, man, that is an old deep cut. You are going back years. I've completely forgotten about that. Because you're talking like 2013 news. But no, I honestly, I mean, kudos to you, man. That is something I had put completely out of my mind. Like when you first said a Fifth Beatle from Peyton Reed, I'm like, oh, that? And it's like, then I just jumped over to see if there's anything new about it. No, I don't think there's been anything new or developed. I think that's probably dead. Peyton Reed seems to be kind of in the old MCU thing going right now. So, I mean, I think if anything would have happened, it would have happened years ago. So I don't think anything new's coming about from it. But by all means, if you guys have heard anything new about it, please mention it in the comments section. Ben Heyusa writes, you got talent, Campea, and you don't know it. A little reference to yesterday's thing with the guitar. Thank you so much, Ben. I appreciate that. Let's see. David Castle writes, thoughts on the black and white version of Logan? It's neat, but it's a gimmick. Like, I remember talking to a friend of mine, oh my gosh, it's such a different experience watching in black and white. And I'm like, no, it's not. They just suck the color out of it. It's not a different experience. It's a novelty. It's cool. I'm glad I have it. I do. I have and I'm not even a physical media guy, but I have it. I have a physical copy of it. It's interesting. It's kind of a neat little novelty thing, but all it is just Logan with the color sucked out of it. I mean, it's still the same movie. Like some people say, oh, it's a totally different movie. No. It's still the same movie. Exact same length, exact same dialogue, exact same shots, just doesn't have color. And again, it's neat. It clearly gives it a different aesthetic, but it's not like it changed the movie from night to day. It's still the exact same movie. So, I mean, I watched it once. I probably won't ever watch it again like that, but I'm glad I saw it like that. That's just my opinion, though. Other people have a much bigger opinion of it, so maybe you'll want to listen to them. Let's see. Ethan Hunt writes, hey, John, is there a novel, movie, or show you loved as a kid, but never hear anyone talk about now? I thought Annabelle was a good Christmas movie, but now I know has heard of it. I think you meant no one has heard of it. Something that I loved as a kid that nobody talks about now. I don't know. It's a decent question, Ethan, but it's one of those things that I'd have to actually just sit down and really think about. I mean, there was... I don't know. Something that nobody talks about now, I just don't know. I would have to think about that. I really would. I'd have to actually sit down and ponder and write some stuff out. Last of the Time Lords writes, will we get a Brock Lesnar versus John Jones showdown? No, it won't happen. Number one, I don't even know if John Jones will ever fight in MMA again. They're talking about maybe Brock Lesnar would have a fight back again. Brock, it's just unfair. Look, John Jones... he's at best a light heavyweight, but it would be unfair to put, like, it's a big physical mismatch. I don't think it would be a fair fight per se, but I don't think that the fight could ever even happen. Because if Lesnar even fights again in MMA, he's probably only got 1 or 2 fights left in him. I mean, let me double check it, but I think Brock's pushing 40. Brock Lesnar age. How old is he now? Yeah, he's 40. Brock Lesnar's 40 years old. He can only keep up that physique for so much longer and be like the huge monster of a man that he is. I can't see it happening. And not to mention all the health issues he's had and stuff like that. I just can't see him and John Jones being in there at the same time. I just don't see it. Let's see. Next one comes to us from Gandrew10, who writes, hypothetically, how do you think Nolan's The Dark Knight would have been received if it came out during the 60s or 70s, during the Adam West era? I have no idea. I wasn't alive in that era, so I have no clue. I mean, it just wouldn't have been made because movies were made differently at the time. If they had come out like that in the era, again, I don't know anything about the era. I can't even venture a guess as to how it would have been received or not received at the time. So, yeah, man. I mean, it's an intriguing question, but we would need like a Leonard Maltin here, like somebody who's a bit older than me, who understood the movie culture of that time, and who could actually give an informed idea or speculation about it. I have no idea. I couldn't even begin to guess. Again, fascinating topic for discussion. It's just, we need somebody else here who can actually give an informed opinion on it. That's it. Dante Redgrave writes, if they make Iron Man 4, it should be a gritty, oh no, no. Anyhow, I'll finish reading it. If they make Iron Man 4, it should be a gritty, R-rated sci-fi western simply titled Tony. He discovers he has a daughter and cares for a dying Nick Fury. I see where you're going with that, Dante. Very clever. I thought you were being serious for a second. Oh my gosh, I was about to go, oh really? Somebody who actually thinks that other thing. Okay, clearly you're going Logan on that. Funny. That'll teach me to react to something before finishing reading it. Hello. Very, very astute. Okay. Next one comes to us from Chris Warden, who writes, hey, John, I think you're underestimating Ferguson. His striking, jiu-jitsu, cardio, and takedown defense make him a bad matchup strictly. Nope, I am not underestimating Ferguson at all. I know how good he is. He's very good. And he's got losses on his record. Now, that's not like anybody with losses on their record has never beaten an undefeated guy. Of course they have. But no, it's quite the opposite. Khabib says Ferguson's takedown defense has been okay. He's relied on his takedown defense against a lot of other guys. His takedown defense will not work against Khabib. It just won't. This is a bad matchup for Ferguson. He's got slick striking, I believe, because Khabib is so dominant of a grappler and so dominant with his ground and pound game, people forget how good of a striker Khabib is. I'm not saying he's a better striker than Ferguson, but Ferguson has been able to rely on the fact that his takedown defense and other aspects of his game have been able to keep him in the position that he has the advantage. That is not going to happen with Khabib. I mean, look, I've been shocked before. Of course, this is MMA. Anything can happen for sure. But I will be shocked if Ferguson even is able to go the distance with Khabib. I'll be shocked if Khabib doesn't finish Ferguson off. I'm not calling like a first round knockout or anything like that, but I mean, I will be shocked even if it goes the distance. I really will. We'll see though. We'll have to wait and see. Let's see. Last of the Time Lords writes, best Bruce Lee movie, Enter the Dragon. Next one. Samantha Elliott writes, speaking of Lee Pace in Captain Marvel, have you had a chance to check out *Halt and Catch Fire*? As a matter of fact, yes. I've just started watching *Halt and Catch Fire*. It's now the show. I take my tablet with me to the gym. So when I get on the treadmill, I just have my tablet open and play Netflix. And I'm now about 7 or 8 episodes in to *Halt and Catch Fire*. I'm really enjoying it so far. But it is funny. When I ever hear Lee Pace speak, all I hear is Ronan the Accuser. Now, I'm sure for people who saw *Halt and Catch Fire* before Guardians of the Galaxy, it would be the other way around. But because I saw Guardians of the Galaxy before I started watching *Halt and Catch Fire*, whenever I hear him speaking at *Halt and Catch Fire*, all I hear is Ronan the Destroyer. Like, that's all I hear. Then Thanos, I'm coming for you. Whenever he talks, even he's wearing his suit and tie, that's all I hear. All I hear is Ronan the Accuser. But yes, I'm really enjoying it so far. Still in season 1. But hopefully I'll be wrapping up season 1 here pretty soon. All right. Next one comes to us from Anthony R., who writes, John, could you explain the guideline for super chats? A couple of chats I asked last week were deleted by your moderators and were not offensive. I did not see any. I don't know what to tell you. I have a log that shows me if any super chats or any comments get deleted. I do not recall any super chats. Specifically, I don't recall any super chats from you being deleted. So double check, make sure it went through, all that kind of stuff. I'm not really clear. Look, the guidelines for super chats would be the same as everybody. Just don't be disrespectful. No offensive language. and by offensive, I just mean like no homophobic, racist, misogynistic, that kind of language. And just, don't be a troll. I mean, that's it. So again, Anthony, I don't know. I can't really comment on it. I don't recall seeing any delete records, but maybe there is, and it just slipped through the cracks. Not really sure. Best thing to do is just to email me directly about that. Joseph Rotini writes, have you seen Jeremy Renner's parody of Thinking Out Loud? I think it's pretty hilarious and his voice is good. Wonder if he's playing piano for real. I don't know what are you talking about that one he did before the first Avengers movie where he did that piano thing talking about I'm Hawkeye? I don't know if that's what you're talking about. If it is, that's hilarious. If you're talking about a new one, I haven't seen it yet, but if it is a new one, I'd be dying to see it. Let's see here. Raymond G just sends in a super chat. Thank you, Raymond. Walden sends in, why no Star Wars talk this weekend? Well, I posted about this on my social media. Yeah, there was no Star Wars talk on Sunday simply because I just got too busy. And look, here's the reality, is that I have 3 scheduled videos on weekends. The John Campea show on Saturday, the John Campea show on Sunday, and Star Wars talk on Sunday. But the reality is this, is it is difficult to work 7 days a week. And every show has several hours of preparation that goes into it besides the hour long of actually doing it. And right now I do shows, I work 7 days a week. I do shows 7 days a week. And I have some family responsibilities and commitments to Anne, who wants some time with me. And what happened was there were a couple of videos to do on Sunday. It came and I had not spent enough time with Anne and something had to give. And I had to make a choice. Well, do I break this commitment I had to Anne to hang out with her, or do I skip doing Star Wars talk? And I made the decision to skip Star Wars talk. And that may happen from time to time. That may happen where a Saturday comes and no John Campea show shows up on Saturday. There may be the odd Sunday when Sunday comes and either no John Campea show happens on Sunday or no Star Wars talk happens on Sunday. It's just going to be that way. Weekends, most weekends I get all the shows done. But some weekends, one or two things may not happen. And I think everybody's just going to have to just know that going into Saturday and Sunday, any videos that come out on Saturday and Sunday are basically bonus. And like I said, most weekends I get all of them up. But I think we need to look at the weekends as a little bit of bonus content. And unfortunately, that includes Star Wars talk. And like I said, I probably worked about 9 hours on the weekend. When you combine Saturday and Sunday together, and most people take weekends off. I work 7 days a week, and I just had some things I wanted to do with my wife. And I decided to put that first, and that's what I did. So that's what happened to Star Wars talk this weekend. Okay, the last of the Time Lords writes, best historical movie, Troy, it's not historical. 300, also not historical. Kingdom of Heaven, Mongol, Alexander, or 300 Rise of an Empire. I don't know, my favorite movie out of that particular list is 300. I wouldn't call any of them historical movies. Canada Rocks writes, I hope Lita Zod, she's a character in the new Krypton show, ends up being Superman's grandmother. Alt-right heads will explode. Can't wait. Yeah, so there are some people who I can't understand why complaining that in this new show Krypton, which is the main character in Krypton is the guy who is ultimately Jor-El's father, aka Kal-El's grandfather, Superman's grandfather. It's about him as a young man on Krypton. And they introduced the House of Zod as well. And there's a couple of Zod characters. There's this woman who's the head of the military branch, and she's got a daughter who's also in the military branch, but they're black, they're African American, right? And it's crazy. I mean, this is an alien race that we don't know anything about, now with a totally new timeline, and people complaining that, since when is Zod black? Well, in this reality, Zod isn't white, black, Asian, or anything. It's an alien race from a planet called Krypton. Krypton. So who's to say, what race people are and what causes certain families to be this race? I mean, why is this an issue? Why is this a big deal? You're right, it would make alt-right heads explode. Let's see. ZOMG Ruler writes, John, play Wonderwall by Oasis. Also, Batman vs. Superman. Okay. Okay, I mean, hey, that's your opinion. That's great. Made me giggle, but all right. That's your opinion. All films subjective. Your opinion is no better, no worse than mine. And if that's how you feel, great. I laugh at it, but that's just because it's my opinion. And no, I am not picking up my guitar to play my guitar today, or probably ever again. Eric Wahlberg writes, incredibly excited to see Infinity War for one big reason not mentioned very often, the fight scenes. The Russos deliver amazing, authentic stuff. T'Challa's fight scenes were better in Captain America 3 than Black Panther, in my opinion. Well, I mean, all you gotta do is just look to the, the airport scene in Civil War. It's just nutty good. Nutty good. And quite often it's not the directors who do the action. Often it's like they'll have somebody like a second unit director or somebody that does their action choreography. But still, the directors have to give the final approval to everything, so there's that too. But yeah, I mean, you look at the action in Civil War, it was just stupid good. Whether it was the airport action scene, whether it was that one Black Panther scene where he's chasing after Winter Soldier through the highway under the tunnel, and Cap is chasing him and blah, whether it was the action sequence where Bucky's trying to escape in the helicopter and Captain America grabs the helicopter. I mean, the action scenes are just spectacular. And the fact that they and I'm sure their same team are going to bring that into Infinity War, man, you're right. It's going to be outstanding. I cannot wait. Justin Ward writes, this SC/movie convo concept is brilliant. WTGJC. I don't know what we're talking about. I honestly, Justin, I wanna be able to jump in and comment, but I have no idea what we're talking about. Sorry about that, man. Amin writes, do you think anyone in the MCUs are Skrulls? If so, who? It's funny, that just actually came up a little bit earlier. That no, I honestly don't think anybody in the MCU right now, other than minor little tiny side characters. Like, I don't think Vision is a Skrull. I don't think Wanda is a Skrull. I don't think War Machine or Ant-Man or Tony, or I don't think any of them are Skrulls. Like, could there be, Lieutenant Meredith of S.H.I.E.L.D., who's like the second person in the back there? She's a Skrull. Maybe that. But as far as any of the key significant players, I don't think so. I could be totally wrong about that. I'm not willing to put money on that, but just my first guess is no. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Okay. Let's see here. Where do we go? Okay, here we go. This next one comes to us from Ben Lornowitz, who writes, current Star Trek trilogy versus Star Wars ongoing trilogy. Which do you prefer? Which is a stronger set of movies? Knowing Star Wars is not complete yet, I go with current Trek. Oh, no, I'll take Star Wars. I think Force Awakens, and I like the new Star Trek films. I like the Star Trek films very much. But, like, to me, The Force Awakens is the best out of any of them. I thought Rogue One was fantastic. And while out of the new films, out of Force Awakens, Rogue One, and The Last Jedi, I think The Last Jedi is the least good of all three of them. I still quite like The Last Jedi, even though I had my issues with it. So I will take those. First of all, I like The Force Awakens and Rogue One better than any of the new Star Trek films. I probably like two of the Star Trek films better than Last Jedi, but that's still overall, that gives it to Star Wars. So I give the nod to Star Wars on that. But that's just me. Let's see. Keith Gilmore writes, John, with Infinity War not lifting its review embargo until a few days before the film's release, should we be worried? No, a few days before release is now kind of becoming standard. We've become used to Marvel lifting their review embargo like 2 weeks early because Marvel has become masters at capitalizing on the buzz of positive word of mouth and blah, 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 blah. I think we would all agree they don't need that here. That this trailer, with, the view records on the trailer, with the fact that it sold the most advanced tickets in its first 24 hours than any other comic book in history, I think all that kind of stuff points to us that the hype is there. We've got the hype. Now, they've also usually do the world premiere a couple of weeks before the movie debuts, but they're doing the world premiere on Monday the 23rd. it really seems to me like they're more adopting like the Star Wars mentality of try to keep everything to within a week because there's a lot of reveals. There's a lot of big things coming out. Now, look, I am not one who subscribes to the whole thing of they're just trying to hide spoilers. If they were lifting the review embargo 24 hours before the movie came out, then I'd say there's a problem. But once you get 2 or 3 days before the movie comes out, that's kind of a standard thing. So, no, I'm not worried about it yet. Now, look, that doesn't mean the movie might not be crap. The movie could be crap. Any movie could be crap. And Avengers Infinity War is no exception to that. It could be crap. But I don't think there's anything showing us any indication of it being crap just because they're lifting their review embargo about the same time that most movies lift their review embargo. So I don't think that's, again, different story if the review embargo is lifting like the day of or within 24 hours, but that's not what they're doing here. So I'm not really worried about it at this point. Okay, let's see. Next one comes to us from Anthony R., who writes, the Knights of Ren could be Luke's former students. If they are, do you think they will have a change of heart and help Rey defeat Kylo and First Order? I don't think so. Any more than Kylo changed sides? I don't think so. I think the Knights of Ren are really going to be more like Red Guards. They're going to be mostly silent, blindly obedient to Kylo Ren, who is already the master of the Knights of Ren. That's what Snoke called him, master of the Knights of Ren. But he is himself now the supreme leader at the same time. So I don't think they're going to make a sub-story out of the Knights of Ren. I think we're going to see the Knights of Ren in episode 9, but I don't think you're going to see any conflict with them as about, oh, we don't know if we want to be good guys or bad guys. They've already done that with Kylo. I don't think they're going to do that with the Knights of Ren. Could be wrong. You could be onto something. I don't think that's what they're going to do, but you could be onto something. Let's see. Angelus23 writes, hey, John, have you heard about the CBS Paramount merger talks? Is this what delays the new Star Trek movie? I always kind of thought CBS and Paramount were owned by aren't they all owned by Viacom? Let me just look at something here. I thought they were all owned by Viacom. Let me just double check here. So they're talking about, CBS merging with Viacom. See, I always kind of thought CBS was merged with Viacom. Let's see, CBS and Viacom are once again talking about a reunion. Oh, okay, they have worked together before. You know what? I'll have to read more into that. So I can't answer your question right now. I'll have to look more into that situation in a little bit. But thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate that, Angelus23. Timers writes, thoughts on Martin Scorsese's movie Silence? I liked it. I did. I thought it was very good. It was not an audience pleaser. Certainly didn't do great at the box office at all. But I thought I thought it was very difficult source material that Martin Scorsese handled beautifully. I quite enjoyed it, but I could see why a lot of people didn't give it a chance. Tank Mover writes, if you had unlimited funds, how would you expand the show? Ooh, if I had unlimited funds, how would I expand the show? Well, I would get a little studio. I would hire, unlimited funds, I would hire everybody in the world so everybody had employment and a job and everybody could be happy. That's what I would do with unlimited funds. So let's not say unlimited. Let's say I was able to triple my income. Okay. I would get a little space. I would rent a little space that I could actually use for a studio. Hire somebody just to be a tech person, like to run camera and audio and switching, which is all stuff I do by myself while I'm trying to host the show. It is crazy what I do while I'm hosting the show. It really is. As a matter of fact, here, let me see if I can do this for you guys right now. I don't know that I'm going to be able to, but let me see if I can. That's a microphone. I don't think I have this webcam plugged in, so I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. I was going to swing this camera around and show you guys. Oh, no, maybe I can. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can bring this up. Okay, I'm going to be able to bring this up here. Okay, so here's me. Hello, everybody. Okay, so here's what's going on here. I operate everything by myself. So there is I do my switching. I keep my information up here. My super chat's down here. I have to monitor the live show over here. So that's me monitoring the live show. So I'll give you a little bit more of a bird's eye view. This is a little panel I use to do my switching, my keyboard, mic, camera, lights, all that kind of stuff. My microphone up here, blah, blah. So what's happening here is I am trying to control and operate all of this stuff at once, all by myself, reading questions, blah, 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 blah. And, sometimes like little technical glitches happen. I'm like, yeah. So I think the first thing I would do is hire just a dedicated tech guy just to run all the tech stuff so I can just focus on the content. So I can just focus on doing the show. It is a little tricky doing the show live because a lot of people do their shows solo, but they record them so they can edit them and they can make it perfect. Like this, doing these shows live is not the easiest thing in the world. So yeah, definitely the first thing I would do is get just a modest sized little studio that I could fit another person in who could act as a tech person. And then beyond that, I think what I would do is hire maybe one full-time co-host to work with me. But I mean, that takes an awful lot of money that I simply do not have. But if I had the finances and I could do something like that, first priority, since I already have Jonathan Ray, first priority is actually get a tech person that could work full-time. And second would be a regular co-host. That would be the other thing. All right, next thing. Let's see. Time Lords writes, best actor not to be a leading man. I say Stanley Tucci. Your thoughts? Stanley Tucci has been a leading man. David Morse. David Morse, I think, is the best actor out there who's not a leading man. I've talked about him a lot. Ben Lorenowitz writes, Tony Stark, Han Solo, who was lame in Return of the Jedi. Dr. Malcolm, Jurassic Park, or Mad Mardigan. Who best epitomizes cool? Han Solo. I'm going to go Han Solo best epitomizes cool. I think Tony Stark best epitomizes quirky, eccentric, if you will. Best epitomizes cool. I'll go Han Solo. That's the one I'll take on that. Because you think about things about fast ship. She's fast enough for you, old man. I mean, like he's just cool and suave. Yeah, I'll take that. Again, Tony Stark, I say more epitomizes being eccentric. Malcolm is kind of strange and weird, but I don't know, like cool. So I'll go Han Solo on that. It all depends on our definitions, I suppose. Tin Osvlado writes, has Papa Campea sign up with your Patreon? Do it, Mr. C. Oh, my dad. Nope. My dad is not signed up for Patreon yet. I will give him a hard time about that when I go back and visit him this summer. But yeah, my dad is still not signed up. Very observant though, man. Alexander Helmer writes, you think Thanos feared Ego? Ego seemed to be powerful. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe, maybe not. I doubt it. Raymond G writes, hey John, thanks for something to enjoy every day. Well, thank you, man, for being here and being a part of this. I enjoy doing this too. He follows up, rumor is Venom will have a V on his chest. Oh God. Who wrote that? I don't, oh man, they can't. They can't. Really? I mean, maybe they have an idea. Maybe it's a super cool idea, maybe. But I'm just envisioning in my head this big purple V on his chest, which would be really lame. But maybe they've come up with something cool. I have not heard that rumor. And even if I did hear the rumor, I probably wouldn't believe it. But, I mean, I don't know, man. These movie studios have done some stranger things before, man. So who knows? We'll have to wait and find out. Dirk Diggler. And I just got time for just a couple more here, guys. So I'm going to try to fly through these last few ones here. Hi, John. I have a sneaky feeling that A Quiet Place is actually a Cloverfield movie because of the monster at the end of the trailer. What do you think? No, I don't think so. I really don't. Now, I haven't talked to anybody who's seen the movie, but I'm not catching any kind of, I'm here. It's all very original. It's all like, so I don't think so at all. That theory that Quiet Place has been a Cloverfield movie has been around for a long time. A lot of people have always speculated that, but I've never heard anything to support the theory. But who knows? Maybe there's people out there who have seen the movie right now watching me and going, oh, Campea, if you only knew. But I don't think so. I don't think it would be. And again, everything I'm hearing coming out of the screenings from South by Southwest, one of the words that's always used is original. It's so original. And that kind of makes me think, okay, so it's not just another chapter of an existing franchise. So I think that, plus we already know what the next Cloverfield movie coming is, and they're not keeping that a secret. So I just don't think so. Anything's possible, but I don't think so. Anthony R. writes, in the comics, Spider-Man is stronger than Captain America, but you said the MCU version of Captain America is stronger. Do you see that changing when Peter becomes an adult? Well, look, he might already be stronger. Captain America is a better fighter, but remember, in Spider-Man Homecoming, there's a scene where the ferry is splitting apart and Spider-Man, with his bare hands, is holding the ship together. That ship, I looked it up, and I've seen some other people talk about it, and I looked up the information myself on Wikipedia. That ship is over 3,200 tons, or 6 million pounds, they said. Like 6 million pounds. Okay. And if that thing is splitting apart and falling in two, and Spider-Man is holding it together, that makes what Captain America did holding the helicopter down, that makes that look like nothing. When you understand the weight of that ship, and Spider-Man's holding it together. Now, granted, he also put a lot of webbing in there, too, to assist, so I'm sure it wasn't all the weight he was holding by himself. But, I mean, I think maybe even in the movies, he's physically stronger than Captain America. Not as good of a fighter, but probably he's physically stronger than Captain America. There's probably not many people he's not stronger than. Like, other than Hulk and maybe Thor, it's hard to imagine too many other people that he's not stronger than. So, yeah, anyway, there's that. A99 Barnsey writes, Nathan Fillion as Captain Hammer in Deadpool cameo. That would be funny. By the way, I think it's Nathan Fillion's birthday. I think I saw James Gunn tweeting a happy birthday to Nathan Fillion. Unless he was just joking around, but if it is Nathan Fillion's birthday, happy birthday to Nathan Fillion. One of our favorite guys to see in movies or TV shows of all time. Joe Grieger writes, Robert Downey Jr. released the voice cast of his Dr. Dolittle movie earlier this afternoon on Facebook. Yes, he did, and I'm going to talk about that on the John Campea Show tomorrow. I've already got it written in the notes for the John Campea Show, so I don't want to go into it too much right now. Joe, I'm sure you'll understand why. But yes, he did. It's an interesting-looking graphic, and yeah, I've got some thoughts on it, but again, I'm going to save those thoughts for the John Campea Show tomorrow, but thanks for bringing it up. Giovan Cease writes, John, is the only reason we didn't see more Marvel TV to film crossovers is because Feige doesn't want them? Clark Gregg suddenly can't do a TV show and film at the same time? Something's fishy. Well, yeah. Kevin Feige is not interested in the TV stuff. He's just not. He kind of expressed that at the Marvel MCU Phase 3 announcement event. You know, he talked about, but I don't have anything to do with TV. I mean, even Joss Whedon was like, hey, no, man. Like when they brought Coulson back to life for the TV show, I remember Joss Whedon was going like, no, to me, Phil Coulson is dead. So, yes, Kevin Feige, who is the High Lord and Master of the MCU, there are no TV crossovers into the movies because he doesn't want them. He does not want his hands tied to the television stuff. The TV shows can do whatever they want to do. And if they want to match steps and reference the movies, great. But you're never going to see Kevin Feige go the other way. You're never going to see Kevin Feige tying his movies to the TV shows. Because he doesn't want to have his hands tied by what the television shows do. Wait a minute, the television shows, they blow up New York? Well, now that means in the MCU, I've got to blow up New York. When really the way it is right now is like, nope. We are not tying ourselves. The TV shows want to match our steps and follow in our footsteps and reference what we're doing in the movies. They're free to do that. But you're not going to see the movies reference the TV shows. You're not going to see the movies showing ties between them and the TV shows because Kevin Feige does not want that handcuff. Kevin Feige is not in charge of the TV universe. Therefore, he doesn't want to give power creatively to the movie universe over to the TV universe. So yeah, that's why I don't think we have seen it happen till now, and why I don't think we will, at least not for the near future. All right, next one. John K writes, oh boy, and a whole bunch more came in. This will be the last question of the day, guys. And listen, guys, Any other questions that do not get answered, don't worry. Check back tomorrow. Your questions will either get answered on a companion video or right off the top on tomorrow's open mic. Okay, guys? So any of you have sent in a question that doesn't get asked, don't worry. It will get asked either tomorrow in a companion video or on tomorrow's open mic. Okay, just to be clear about that. All right. Joe Grieger writes, wait, I already did that one. Sorry. I went up too far. John K writes, end of Infinity War. Thanos gets all the stones. Cap convinces what he's doing is bad. Guys, please don't use abbreviations or just letters. T stops plan and joins Avengers. Instead, Avengers 4 is them all fighting Taskmaster or Galactus. Interesting, yet completely unrealistic theory. Yes, completely unrealistic theory because really, even according to, first of all, Galactus is a Fox thing. He cannot be in the MCU. So there's that. I think the same is true of Taskmaster, if I'm not mistaken. So there goes that theory right off the boat. So, but no, I don't agree with it. Very creative thinking, very imaginative thinking, but no, I don't think that's the way they're going to go with that at all. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. I love doing this show. Thank you so much, guys, for being here and doing this show with me. Listen, don't forget, of course, tomorrow morning, the John Campea Show is on again at 8:30 in the morning Pacific Standard Time. Make sure you come back and join us for that. Also, guys, I put up my review for Ready Player One a little bit earlier today. Check out my YouTube channel. It's right up there in the top of the page. Go and check out my review for Ready Player One. And, of course, all types of good stuff coming again tomorrow. All right, guys, that will do it for me. My name's John Campea. Thanks for joining me, and until my next video, bye-bye.